Music and sound therapy have enhanced standard therapy and wellness practices far beyond your typical post-breakup, cry-in-the-shower music session or your celebratory jam session after nailing a difficult test or job interview. Music therapy can also be used as a pain management tool. Clinically, music therapy has been proven to aid in health-related diagnoses from depression, neurological problems, developmental disabilities, those recovering from stroke or traumatic brain injuries and intensive care, to rehab, and even hospice situations. When my own mom entered hospice care at the end stage of her life, we used to play her some of her favorite songs, from Bob Seger's Against the Wind to her favorite hits from Coldplay, Nickelback, and even Adele. Even when she was unable to communicate with us, we could see firsthand the relaxation that overcame her body when we would play her music. It was almost as if the memories of the songs gave her a sense of peace. There are several organizations that work with professionals to provide music therapy benefits to those in need, from creating musical support groups like Music Men's Minds, providing music therapy support with Resounding Joy, and most notably, the nationwide organization Musicians on Call.
We started Musicians on Call accidentally. We were at the hospital one night at Memorial Sloan Kettering, and there were a couple patients who couldn't come up to hear this performer that we had brought, and they asked if we would go down to their floor and visit the patients in their rooms. And there was something that was unbelievably magical that happened.
We sort of walked out of the hospital that night knowing that this was a program that had to exist.
Musicians on Call.
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 Now, Musicians on Call has support from hundreds of artists and has had some big-name artists make hospital room appearances, such as Dolly Parton, Blake Shelton, Kelly Clarkson, Luke Bryan, Rachel Platten, Bruce Springsteen, and so many more. Music therapy is certainly not a one-size-fits-all. According to the American Music Therapy Association, all styles of music can be useful in affecting change in a client or patient. The individual's preferences, circumstances, and need for treatment, and the client or patient goals help to determine the types of music a music therapist may use. The Effect of Music as a Non-Pharmacological Intervention on the Physiological, Psychological, and Social Response of Patients in an Intensive Care Unit by Andrew Van Zunder, published in the National Library of Medicine, says, some research suggests that classical and meditative music maximizes learning and remembering information, while heavy metal or techno music are not only ineffective, but potentially dangerous and can lead to stress and/or life-threatening arrhythmias. Music tracks should have a slow rhythm, around 60 to 80 beats per minute, and be in sync with body rhythms. In 2024, Emma Snyder-Lavera published an article in Ohio Today stating, music therapy is deeply rooted in scientific principles. The brain's response to music involves complex neural networks that are activated during listening to music. This explains why music can evoke strong emotional responses and memories, providing a unique pathway to emotional processing and healing. There's more science behind the benefits of music therapy than most might think. Lavera goes on to explain, research in neuroscience has shown that music can release dopamine, the pleasure hormone, and reduce cortisol, the stress hormone. These biochemical responses help to explain the therapeutic effects of music therapy on mood and stress reduction. Additionally, functional MRI studies have demonstrated music engages areas of the brain involved in attention, memory, and motor control, which supports its effectiveness in addressing a variety of mental and physical health conditions. Speaking of relaxation and reducing anxiety, another form of sound therapy is ASMR. In an article by Yuri Shutterstock in 2025 titled, Does ASMR Really Help with Anxiety? A psychology expert explains the evidence. Not everyone responds to ASMR content, but many who do say it makes them less anxious and helps them sleep. There's increasing research on ASMR, but in 2025, Kate Caffrey published an article in the Salem Press Encyclopedia of Health with lots of what we know now about it. Before it was given an official name, ASMR was being discussed on online discussion boards as early as 2007. The term Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response was coined in 2010 by a New York woman named Jennifer Allen. Allen eventually organized a Facebook group to discuss the phenomenon. She then decided to come up with a term the group could use to refer to the experience, Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, ASMR for short. The term quickly caught on with an online community and the news media as the trend grew larger. So, what is ASMR? It's been known to be similar to that of getting the chills, but it causes a person to feel a tingling sensation in their head and neck, with the feeling sometimes extending down through the arms. Each person responds to ASMR differently, but many share common characteristics. Some of the most common triggers include rain sounds, whispering, brushing, tapping or sizzling noises, crisp sounds, and even white noise. ASMR certainly isn't for everybody though. In a smaller scale survey I conducted with 25 friends, family, and colleagues, 72% of people have heard of or were at least familiar with ASMR, and surprisingly, 28% were not. I went on to ask about the effectiveness of ASMR, and 26% of people answered that they, quote, hate ASMR and it doesn't work. So, what's the science behind these sounds? Caffrey goes on to explain in her article in the Salem Press Encyclopedia of Health. A 2018 study examined people's brain activity while watching ASMR videos inside of an MRI scanner. This was the first study to use brain imaging to examine ASMR effects. The study found the regions of the brain most active when people were experiencing ASMR tingling sensations were the nucleus accumbens, which is the brain's region central to motivation, reward, and pleasure, acting as a key interface between emotion and action, the medial prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain crucial for emotional functions like decision-making and emotional regulation, the insula, whose primary function is to integrate bodily information with emotional and cognitive processing, giving meaning to physical states like hunger, pain, and temperature, and also crucial for emotional regulation, consciousness, and bodily functions like heart rate and blood pressure, and the secondary somatosensory cortex, which integrates and processes sensory information like tactile memory, object recognition, and gating the perception of pain and touch. Music and sound therapy have proven to have the ability to aid in healing, comfort, emotional well-being, and physical pain management. Whether people seek clinical interventions, their own personal therapeutic experiences, or growing practices like ASMR, all these different approaches stimulate the brain, body, and emotions in ways that therapy alone cannot. As more research becomes available and music therapy becomes more accessible, we will find that music and sound therapy offer comfort and healing for reducing stress, enhancing memory, creating connection and peace, and even reducing physical pain. Sound and music are not only something that we hear, it's a tool to help us heal.